Good evening, friends, and welcome to Heart of Indie Radio tonight. We are certainly in for a treat. We have an exclusive interview with Ty Higgins. Now, to explain all the things that Ty is amazing at would take probably the whole show. So I'm just going to cut to the chase. He's a songwriter, a producer, a filmmaker, a sound designer, and a very overall creative person that I met a few years back. And it's just such an honor to virtually chat with him now and introduce him to all of our listeners. So please welcome Ty Higgins to Heart of Indie Radio. How are you?
Oh, excellent. Thank you for having me. Lovely to see you again.
Yes, nice to see you as well. And it's just amazing, all the different things that you've been up to. I'd love for our listeners to kind of understand what got you into the creative space in the first place. I mean, you really have lots of diverse talents, lots of things that you enjoy doing, and you're very artistic. So how did that come about? Was it someone influencing you as a child? Yeah, just kind of tell us more about yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of a cinematic story, actually. Very lovely. I'm from upstate New York. There's a lot of really creative people there. It's cinematic land, and it's very close to New York. So I was raised partly in the city, but then also we had a nice farm in upstate New York. So we lived in this lovely house, this old house, and the neighbor below me was a piano player, and I would lay on the floor as a kid and could hear them playing piano through the floor. And then there was another woman she was an artist and drew all this amazing art, so I'd go hang out with her. So it was kind of like incepted as a young, very, very young, like as a baby. And then I just kind of went into art and sculpture and graphic arts and painting and, kind of hung around in that space for a while. And then got introduced to music. I found an old guitar with like maybe 3 strings on it, and would like learn how to play things on the radio, but then it would go out of tune and I would have to like retune it to something so the fundamentals were there, but not the basics, I guess. So yeah, went from sculpture into graphic arts, and then just loved music and played in a rock band for many years. And then when kind of electronic music was coming up, I realized that you can do all those things yourself, instead of bringing like 5 people together, drummer, bass player, vocalist, and you can just get a machine and a couple more years of learning how to play the other instruments yourself. You can have a virtual band yourself. But I can't sing, so then I would luckily stumble across incredible singers throughout my life, and we do collaborations. And finally, it built up, and I was like, you got to move to LA. Like I tried it on the East Coast, got to move to LA and just give it a go. And so came out here, and but also really love movies. So I said, how can I add music to film, but not in a compositional way, more of an experimental way. And sound design was the way, because you can compose little songs or chord sounds in the world and make those textures for a film. So I just fell in love with sound design, went to school for that. And while I was there, I got introduced to directing. And directing is just another form of graphic and audio art that I could do. So now I have another art tool to put in my backpack. So just all of it, and every part of it.
That's
cinematography
amazing.
And
I love it.
I love all of it. Yeah.
That's great. And I think what's amazing too about your story is how, the very beginning, as a child laying on the floor and listening to the piano and then going to the neighbor's house and, being influenced with art. And I think now it really makes sense to, when you hear that backstory, to then the future Ty that is, so involved in so many different creative spaces. And I think it really shows you how that deep history that you hold with music is now reflected, and you're able to share it with your audiences and your listeners. And I think that that's fantastic. I remember too that, a few years back, when you were starting your film career, and you were creating these short films. And I remember watching them thinking, oh my goodness, one day you're going to win an award. And I think it's incredible that, since that time you've gone on and you've done even bigger things, and you've continued to stay humble and approachable and it's all about the art. And I think that that's something that is a real testament for yourself, as not only as an artist, as a person. You've got a really strong sense of self. And I think that that's something that I'd like to encourage any listeners out there tonight, that, they're perhaps indie artists, or they're people that are passionate about being creative. I think it's important to also hold true to those values and to stay grounded, because
Agreed.
as you know, there's highs and there's
Yeah.
lows in the industry, and
Hmm.
and it's really important that we stay, grounded. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we fall apart, right?
Yeah.
How would you say, in terms of your process with perhaps songwriting or creating a film, is there a process that you have found kind of helps you start your projects, or is it different every time?
I'm always creating. I'll hear a car go by and a weird horn distortion, and that will literally be a bass line for me. Or watching a TV show and someone says like a really interesting line, or just you're having a conversation. I was like, okay, that's a cool song. But I think fundamentally, I try to sit down every day, at, discipline, and just make a song, like just make something, no matter what. If I don't feel like it, or I'm tired, or I have a lot to do, 30 minutes, sit down and just make something. And once I have a couple measures of a melody, it kind of turns into something. So I just loop that, I listen to it, and then I can kind of hear the lyrics to it. And then I just think about like what is the most like powerful single motif lyric, right? Because you don't want a song to be about rainbows, but also cars and helicopters and falling and jumping and being sad. So I try to keep it simple. So, I'll have a song about a single thing, and then I just try to pull from all those moments of my life, interesting things people have said about that event, and just use that as writing the hook first, and then writing the verse up to the hook. Um, and kind of the same with film. I'm having a conversation, I'm going for a walk, and an entire scene will just pop into my head. And I was like, that's weird. That's kind of interesting. How do we get there, or how do we get out of that? You know what I mean? And then you're at a party, or you just kind of like throw it out at someone, and if they react to it like, what are you talking about? You're like, okay, I'll move on to a different idea. But if you see them again and they're like, hey, do you remember that thing you told me? That it resonates with people. So yeah, kind of sometimes deliberate sitting down and crafting it, but sometimes just making a sandwich and a idea pops in. So
That's awesome. I like that. Especially, if someone asks about that, hey, can you tell me about that idea? That's
absolutely,
that's that's
yeah.
that's fantastic. Now, I'd love for our listeners to, continue supporting you on social media, and of course, go and see your films and listen to the music that you've produced. Can you just tell us how we can find your projects, as well as, continue supporting you in this musical journey?
Oh yeah, that'd be great. So if you just go to YouTube and type in Ty Higgins film and music, just Tyhiggins film and music. I was trying to have one or the other, but I figured I'd just put them together, save everybody a click.
Yes.
And so I put my music videos on there. I love directing music videos for artists. That's one of my favorite things to do. And so have all there, have some comedy movies and some kind of, dramatic things. So it's all there. And then music wise, my music name is Shiro, and it's spelled SH, the number 3RO. So Shiro. And if you just go on YouTube and type in Shiro, have a bunch of music there as well. And you can find that on wherever you buy music. So Spotify and iTunes and YouTube, anywhere you want, it should be all there.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ty, for hanging out with me tonight on the show. And certainly, listeners, be sure to DM us both on Twitter and on Instagram at Heart of Indie. Let us know what you thought of tonight's special guest, Ty Higgins, who certainly is a creative soul, and we need more creativity in the world. So it's awesome. And we're going to be listening to your music a little bit later on the show
Excellent.
as well. So thank you so much, and blessings to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your
Okay.
time. Good to see you.
Thank you. Bye, Ty.
Bye.
All right, folks, we're going to get back to the music right here on Heart of Indie Radio.